Sure. I don't know if she can see us, but she probably can.
Yalai lalai lai, yalai lalai lai, yalai lalai lai, ai lai lai, yalai lai lai, yalai lalai lai, yalai lalai lai, yalai lalai lai, ai lai lai, yalai lai lai, yalai lalai lai, ai lai, yai lai, yalai lalai lai, yai lalai lai lai. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom. We invite you to find your voice and sing with us if you feel so inclined. The only words are Yai Lalai and Shabbat Shalom. You're welcome to clap your hands too if you like. If you feel so moved, you may even jump in the aisles. Yalai lalai lai, yalai lalai lai, yalai lalai lai, ai lai lai, yalai lai lai, yalai lalai lai, yalai lalai lai, yalai lalai lai, ai lai lai, yalai lai lai, yalai lalai lai, ai lai, yai lai, yalai lalai lai, yai lalai lai lai. Shabbat shalom, 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 Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat Shalom and welcome to Hallapalooza. We are so glad you're here with us. I know that many of you joined us in the social hall upstairs for dinner and challah braiding. Your challah is baking now, and if you didn't join us, we will share our freshly baked challah with you after the service, and we're so glad that you're here to welcome in Shabbat with us. I'm Rabbi Ali Tick-Brill. I'm excited to be leading tonight with Alan Goodis. And we have very special news in the Sukkat Shalom family, which is that our beloved cantorial soloist, Kenny Lionswright, and his wife, Annie, had a healthy baby boy last night named Arlo Davis Lionswright. We're not sure if they're watching services right now with a baby who's like 20 hours old, but we wish them mazel tov, and we're so excited for their growing family. And it certainly makes our Shabbat sweeter. We hope you're going to join in our service and sing with us. We're going to begin by lighting the candles, and I'm going to invite Jason and Owen forward to help us with that. Jason, Owen, and Meg recently joined Sukkat Shalom just 2 weeks ago, and they are already bringing light into our community, which is why we want them to light the candles. So they're going to light, and then we'll sing together on page 2.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kirshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Page 10, Hine Matov.
Hine matov, Umanayim shevet achim yam yachad. Hine matov umanayim shevet achim yam yachad. Let's sing that again. Hine matov umanayim shevet achim yam yachad. Hine matov umanayim shevet achim yam yachad. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. Hine matov umanayim shevet achim yam yachad. Hine matov umanayim shevet achim yam yachad. Shalom aleichem, salam aleikum. Shalom aleichem, salam aleikum. Shalom aleichem, salam aleikum. Shalom aleichem, salam aleikum. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. How good it is, how sweet it is to be together on this day. Hine matov umanayim shevet achim yam yachad. Hine matov umanayim shevet achim yam yachad. Bim 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 bam, bim 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 bam, bim bam bim 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 bam, bim 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 bam. Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat 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 shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat 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 shalom, Shabbat 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 shalom, Shabbat 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 shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat 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 shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat shalom, Shabbat 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 shalom.
We turn to page 20 to welcome Shabbat with Lecha Dodi.
Ya la 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 lecha dodi, ya la 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 likrat kala, ya la 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela, shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, ishmiyanu el hamyuchad, Adonai echad, u'shemo echad, l'shem ultiferet v'litfilah, yai lai lai, yai lai 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 lecha dodi, ya la 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 likrat kala, ya la 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 pnei Shabbat nekabela. Verse 9, Boi v'shalom, Boi v'shalom, Ateret bala, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה, יאי לי לי, יאי לי 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 לך דודי, יאללה לה 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 לקראת קלה, יאללה לה 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 פני שבת, פני שבת נקבלה.
Raise your hand if you helped braid some challah before the service. So it's a lot of work to braid challah, and the work we did upstairs wasn't even the whole job. Missy arranged with the bakery to mix the flour and the yeast and to knead the dough and to prepare it so that all we needed to do was to braid it. So in the Torah, Adam eats bread. And the Talmud explains that for Adam to eat bread, he had to go to tremendous effort. He had to plow and sow and reap the wheat. He had to bind the sheaves, thresh, winnow the grain, select the oats, grind them, sift them, knead it. All of this work went into making bread. When we eat challah, we are reminded of everything that happened and needed to happen to arrive at that loaf and to arrive at that moment. So in a moment, we're going to offer our Baruch Hu prayer, and I want to invite you to think about the long process that led to a challah being braided by your hands, and to think about all of the things that needed to happen for you to arrive at this moment. We turn to page 28 and rise.
Am I awake? Am I prepared? Are you listening to my prayer? Can you hear my voice? Can you understand? Am I awake? Am I prepared? Yalla lai lai lai, 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 yalla lai lai lai. Barechu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Now we sing and bow.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Le'olam va'ed, Le'olam va'ed. Yalla lai lai lai, 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 yalla lai lai lai.
Please be seated. Page 34.
Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. 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 Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad.
Two of the most important prayers on Shabbat are the motzi over the challah and the kiddush over the wine. It's interesting when you think about the fact that we're blessing bread and wine. Why not bless like a piece of wheat or a grape? You know, the most elemental aspect of what is bread and what is wine. Well, our sages teach that we bless bread because it represents how the power of nature comes together with the power of human ingenuity to make bread. Bread is made through the beauty of the natural world and the creativity of humans. And same with wine. Wine is a combination of the natural world and our human effort to cultivate that. Our sages teach a blessing prevails only through the work of our human hands. We think about our roles as collaborators in creation as we offer our Mi Chamocha prayer, page 40.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh. Nora tehilot osef eleh, Nora tehilot osef Adonai, yimloch leolam vaed. Yai la lai 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 la la lai. Yai la lai 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 lai. Yai la lai 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 la lai. Yai la lai 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 lai. Yai lai ya 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 lai lai ya la lai. Yai lai ya la lai lai lai.
We turn our prayers toward an evening of peace. I want to mention for our smaller friends here that if you want to play with a toy or a book, Missy has a basket in the back to help you find some of your Shabbat peace. You're welcome, of course, to stay in your seat to come sing with us, dance with us, or if you need a toy or a book to help with your Shabbat peace, it's right in the back. Page 43.
Baruch atah Adonai haporei Sukkat Shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai haporei Sukkat Shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael. Ve'al Yerushalayim ve'al kol amo. Ve'al Yerushalayim shalom. Ve'al Yerushalayim ve'al kol amo. Ve'al Yerushalayim shalom. Baruch atah Adonai haporei Sukkat Shalom. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael. Shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael.
Page 46, we rise.
Anananananana Adonai. Ananana svatai tiftach. Ananana ufi agid tehilatecha.
Come dance with us if you want.
Ananana svatai tiftach. Ananana ufi agid tehilatecha. Ananana Adonai. Ananana svatai tiftach. Ananana ufi agid tehilatecha.
Page 48.
Baruch
Atah Adonai
Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibur ve'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Vekonei Hakol, Vezocher Chaste Avot ve'Imahot, Umevi Geula Lifnei V'neihem, Lema'an Shemo be'ahava, Melech Ozer u'Moshiach u'Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah.
Please be seated. So as you see here, on Shabbat, we always keep a cover over our challah. Maybe at home you have a cover that looks like this or looks like something else that's beautiful. Does anyone know the reason why we cover the challah? So it doesn't get lost. That's such a good idea. Yes, so it doesn't get lost. Another reason that we do it is that we don't want the challah to feel embarrassed or shy if it were kind of lying there naked during the whole service, waiting for its turn. And so we put this cover over it as a way of protecting its dignity and treating it with respect. I wanted to mention this because it's an interesting concept to give respect and dignity and privacy to an inanimate object that certainly doesn't have feelings. I think it's a beautiful reminder that if we are to treat our challah with this level of respect, then can you imagine the level of respect and kindness we should be treating each other with? So we're going to offer our prayer for peace and our silent prayer now and consider how much better this world would be if we treated people as kindly as we treat challah.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Dasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Dasim Leolam. Ki atahu melech Adon lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech Adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Dasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Dasim Leolam. V'tov beinecha levarech et Amcha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך תשים לעולם. Tasim leolam, tasim leolam.
When you picture a loaf of challah, it has braided strands. And the reason we braid our challah is that the braid reminds us that we are stronger together. Because what might be hard for one person to do can be possible when it's two or three, and so too the challah becomes stronger when it has more braids. And some people say that a braided challah looks like arms wrapped up in a hug. So at this time in our service, we pray for healing, and we think of those people in our lives who we want to share our strength with, and who we want to wrap our arms around in a hug, just like the braided challah. If there's someone you're praying for tonight, I would ask you to share their name out loud, and we will join you in your prayer. For all who are named out loud and all who are named in our heart, we offer our Misha Berach prayer, page 253.
Misha Berach Avotenu Mikor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Mishe Berach Imotenu Mikor HaBracha Lehavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
So a long time ago, there was a baker who loved to make challah on Shabbat. And every Shabbat, he would make 2 loaves of challah, one for himself and one for his sister. And then his sister moved away. And the next Friday, he continued his routine of making the challah and kneading it and braiding it just like you did. And then when he had these 2 beautiful challah loaves, he realized his sister was no longer living there, and he felt sad about having this extra challah. So he thought about what to do with his extra challah. He would enjoy one, but he needed to do something with the other one. So he decided to go to the wisest person in town. And he went to this wise elder, and he asked them, "What should I do with my extra challah?" And the wise person thought about it and said, you should take that challah to the holiest place you can think of, and God will perform a miracle in that place and get the challah to someone who needs it. So the baker went to work the next Shabbat with the challah, and he took it to the holiest place he could think of, which was his synagogue. And he went into the sanctuary and he looked around and he thought, where should I put this challah that's the holiest place I can think of? So the first thing that came to mind was the prayer books. So he took the challah back here and he put it by the prayer books. But then he realized, this challah is going to get crumbs on the prayer books. That wouldn't be very holy. I have to find somewhere else. So he looked around and he said, another holy place in a sanctuary is the window, because we're always supposed to have windows in a sanctuary to see the outside world so that our prayers aren't just about ourselves. So he went to the window and he put the challah in the window and he looked at it and he's like, that's not really right, because if we open the window, it's going to get dusty. There's going to be bugs on the challah. That's not the best place for it. That's not the holiest place I can think of. Can anyone think of somewhere in this sanctuary we could put this challah that would be the holiest place they could think of? What do you think? Amazing idea, in the ark. So the baker took the challah. Thank you. That was such a great idea. And he opened up the ark where the Torahs are kept. And he thought, she's right. This is the holiest place I can think of. And he put the challah in the ark. And he closed the door. And he left. So about an hour later, someone else came to the synagogue. And he was the shamash. The shamash is the person at synagogue who helps to set up the service and make sure all the prayers are in order and the prayer books are out. And this day, the shamash came to the synagogue, and he was really low because his family had grown beyond the point where he could support them in the way he wanted to. And it was Friday afternoon, and he really wanted them to have a beautiful Shabbat dinner, and they didn't have what they needed for Shabbat dinner. So he turned to the ark, and he offered a prayer. He said, God, help me make a beautiful Shabbat dinner for my family. And all of a sudden, he noticed that something was off about the ark. It was left a little bit open. So he opened up the ark, and there was a delicious challah inside of it. And he said, oh my God, a miracle has happened. I prayed for help with my Shabbat dinner. God has intervened. A miracle has happened. He brought the challah home, and his family enjoyed it, and he was so happy. So the next day, the baker came back to the temple to see what had happened with the challah, and he opened the ark, and it was gone. And he said, oh my God, a miracle has happened here. I wanted this challah to get to someone who needed it. It's not here. I can't believe this incredible miracle happened. So the next Friday night, the baker did the same thing. He brought an extra challah. He put it in the ark. An hour later, the shamash came to the temple, opened up the ark, found this miraculous challah, and he took it home. It continued like this week after week, Shabbat after Shabbat for years. And both men felt such peace and happiness that this miracle was taking place in their life. Until one day, something went wrong. And the baker was a little bit late in bringing the challah. And the shamash was a little bit early in picking it up. And they both stood in front of the ark, and the baker was holding the challah, and the shamash saw him, and they were both just deflated. The baker realized that a miracle hadn't happened. It was just the shamash taking the challah. And the shamash looked at the baker holding the challah and thought, I thought this challah was coming from God. I thought there was a miracle. It was just this baker. And they were so upset. And just then, the rabbi came into the sanctuary, and she saw these two men in front of the ark, and she asked them what was going on. And they explained to her that they thought they were experiencing this miracle, and they just learned that it wasn't God, it wasn't a miracle. And she thought for a moment, and then she shared with them. She said, you guys actually don't have this quite right. A miracle did happen. And she looked at the baker's hands, and she said to him, your hands are the hands of God. You have made this challah, you have fed someone. That is a holy act. And she looked at the shamash's hands, and she said, your hands are the hands of God. You prayed from your heart. You opened yourself up to receive and to allow someone to support you. That is a holy act. And she explained to them that sometimes miracles can look like the kind and loving things we do for each other. Sometimes in life, we are the baker, and we're able to give. And sometimes we're the shamash, and we are in a place to receive. And no matter where we find ourselves in our lives, by doing kind things, by opening our hearts, by being generous, we are God's hands. and we can make miracles happen for each other. So we take this lesson with us this Shabbat as we consider the miracles we make and create for each other. Shabbat Shalom.
$586. If you're able, we invite you to please rise as we turn to words of Aleinu. Aleinu לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרום בשמיים ומעל, ושכינתו זו בגובה מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
Page 287.
ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
Please be seated. We turn our thoughts to memory and we think of our loved ones who died recently and who died at this season in years past. On this Shabbat, we are remembering Sidney M. Glick, Stanley Goldman, Barbara Friedman, Toby Klinecki, Albert Orlov, Ginger Smerling, Joanne Peckin, Harriet Bunny Cohn, Rose Helen N. Levy, David Leland Hamilton, Irv Imrem. And on this Shabbat, we take as our own the victims of the terrorist attack on the El Ghriba synagogue in Tunisia. Are there other names that people would like to share with us? For all who were named out loud and all who were named in our heart, we offer the mourner's Kaddish. We rise together and turn to page 294. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach yurteh v'yamlich malchuteh, v'chayachon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayeh d'chol beit Yisrael, ba'gala v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam omei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitala v'yitalal shemei dekudasha barechu. Le'ela minkol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nachamata. Da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mramav. Hu yaseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Please be seated. We hope you'll join us next Shabbat on May 19th when we will be honoring volunteers in our congregation. And please mark your calendar for June 9th when we're going to have a beautiful service in the garden with, I think, a Mexican fiesta afterward in celebration and acknowledgement of Rabbi Daniels' last Shabbat with us. We hope you'll be there. Missy, is there anything we should know about collecting our challah? Let's do motzi now. Alan will lead us in motzi, and then when our service concludes, as Missy said, please head upstairs to collect your challah. Thank you for being with us. We wish you a Shabbat of peace and blessing. Join us in the motzi.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.